I went to his house because he had like every other weekend visitation or something like that. I would never really go because he would hardly pick me up. But the last time I went, I remember vividly, it was Christmas, and he bought me one gift, and it was a game that I already had. So I guess I can do a pre-conversation on this episode. I just rewatched Cujo as an adult today, and came to the understanding that pretty much it's a story of karma. Like, I don't think it's necessarily supposed to be taken as a horror movie. Let me tell you why. Because, pay attention when the movie first starts off, other than them showing Cujo chasing the rabbit and getting, bitten on the nose by the bat. It shows the wife having an affair. And her pretty much breaking it off or whatever, and trying to, or whatever the case may be. So, pretty much long story short, her karma was getting stuck in that car with her son for 10 days. Well, no, she wasn't even in there for 10 days. Because he said after 2 days, if that man didn't leave that business trip early, they would have been dead. Well, no, not necessarily, because she ended up killing Cujo. But she might have passed out from exhaustion. But I don't know. But yeah, Cujo, story of karma. Don't cheat on your spouse, and you don't have to worry about getting stuck in your car by a killer named Saint Bernard. Yo, welcome back to Likkle Table Podcast. I'm your host, your favorite neighborhood roster, and I am here by myself for the commencement of episode number 88. Now, I was supposed to have a guest this week, but they ain't show up. I ain't heard nothing from them since yesterday. So instead of waiting a week to film with somebody else and miss this coming Tuesday to post an episode for y'all, I decided to, film myself taking a deeper dive into my story that I, put on display for y'all a couple episodes ago. Before I get into that, I want to give a big shout out, a big, very big special shout out to the provider of our ambient pleasure, the Laws of Music / the Laws Cooper, who is responsible for that music you hear right now, boy, in your ears. He's also responsible for more music streaming now on YouTube and other streaming services. Y'all tap in, please. Got that out the way. And we got a new item for the wall. I just went to the dispensary yesterday, and because of one of the strands that I got, they gave me a sticker. Purple starfruit, which is what I happen to have rolled up in this joint right now. So while I enjoy this, I'm going to think of where I want to put it on the wall, because I don't know yet, because I don't want to stick it nowhere in case I want to move it or something. So yeah. Now again, like I said, if you've been tuning in, I did a deep dive into my past and stuff like that in my life story. And I wouldn't necessarily say a deep dive because, like I said in that episode, there was a lot of things that I left out on purpose, didn't talk about. So due to me not having a guest this week, I decided to start my new segments pretty much, which is breaking my life up into categories or years or whatever the case may be. So this episode will pretty much be describing my adolescence. I'd say from about 5 to maybe like 9 or 10, So there were a lot of things that I left out that made me the person I am today, which is why I felt like I need to do a deeper dive. Like I said, as far back as I can remember, I was an outside kid. I was raised by my mom. She was a single mother for the most part. If I'm going back as far as I can remember, before she got with my little sister's father. They were married for maybe a couple of years, then they split up. Then it was just me, my mom, and my little sister Daisha. Now, around this time, I don't know if I said it last episode or not, but my father pretty much opted out. And as an adult, I asked my mom, why, or if there was any specific reason, or like what happened, pretty much. And long story short, he opted out because I wasn't named after him. She said he seen me like once when I was like 3 months when he got out of jail, and then after that, he got upset at the fact that my name is my name. He never came to see me again. So, didn't really have a father figure like that. The one that I did was my sister's father for the most part, but I was still fairly young to really understand what he was, I guess you could say. So, my mom was single for the most part from, I think, around the ages of when I was like 5 or 6 until I hit like 8. A couple years. That wasn't that long, now that I'm thinking about it. So my mom lived in this renewed community where they put women with kids that, can't really get their own apartment or whatever. We was living there for a little while, and then we moved into Holland Hill, deeper into Charleston Place. That's around the time where my father started getting a little more active in my life, I guess you could say. I remember going to a summer camp, went to the Power Center, and I got into a little altercation with some little boy out there that was messing with my little sister. Well, later that day, my father picked me up, and come to find out, that dude was my little brother. Didn't even know. So, maybe seen my father like 2 or 3 times around that time period. So, after the rental community, after we moved to Charleston Place, we moved into Carolina Club, if I'm not mistaken. And I was in around the 3rd grade around this time. Well, 2nd going into the 3rd. And this is around the time where she met my now sibling's father, Isis, Fred Forever, and Amir's father. I was around 7 or 8. He started coming around a little bit more, and that was pretty much he was the closest thing I had to a father figure, pretty much, because he had been there the most consistent. Around this time, my father tried to start coming around again. I maybe seen him like 3 more times. The last time I seen him around that time, I went to his house because he had like every other weekend visitation or something like that. I would never really go because he would hardly pick me up. But the last time I went, I remember vividly, it was Christmas, and he bought me one gift, and it was a game that I already had. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. So, didn't really go back after that. It was a whole debacle of he should sign over his rights and all kind of stuff like that. I think I was a little too young to understand really what was going on. Around this time too, I think this was maybe like 1st or 2nd grade, I got in trouble real bad one time for stealing from my mama. I took a dollar bill out of her purse thinking that it was a single dollar bill. Took it to school and went to spend it at lunch. Come to find out it was a $100 bill. My mama took me to the police department. We did this whole little tour and all kind of stuff. Obviously it didn't work. But yeah, that was a time. I used to spend a lot of time in my grandma's house around this time, since we still lived in Daytona. That was my baby boy, I swear. Phyllis and Hunter. Couldn't, boy. Coolest white woman you'd ever know. But spent a lot of time at her house with my cousins. Well, one cousin would be there more than the other one though, so that's why I really said cousin. Started gaming around this time. The first game I really remember playing for real, like getting into was GTA Vice City. I was playing that game on PlayStation 2. Was not supposed to be playing that at all. Shouts out to GTA 6 coming out in November. Pre-orders done started for that. I don't think I'm going to pre-order that though. But anyway, so around this time that my mom met my little sibling's father, I was in like the 2nd or 3rd grade. So I was around 7 or 8, maybe going on 9. And yeah, we was pretty much locked in right then. You couldn't tell me nothing about the man. He did no wrong in my eyes. And then we moved in with my grandma for a little bit when I went to Tennessee before we moved to D-Land to our house. That's when I was around 10. 5th grade, they were still together. That's when I kind of like really picked up a lot of responsibility around the house as far as my siblings and stuff like that. I was more responsible for what they did and stuff. Started getting in trouble for stuff that they might have done that I could have prevented. Washing dishes, cooking, making bottles, changing diapers. And then she had 2 more. And I was like 11. And I was like in the 5th or 6th grade when my twin siblings was born. And I'm gonna end the story off right there. And that's my adolescence. Next chapter will be my preteens, and then my teenage years, and then the next one will be my adulthood. That's how I'm gonna pretty much break it up so I can have something, when people ain't here for y'all. Because people be leaving me hanging sometimes. That's one of the more difficult parts about doing this, especially doing everything on my own. It's like not everybody is going to take this as serious as I am to show up when I need them to show up, especially since I'm not paying nothing like that, which I understand. It's just something for people to do. But I'm taking this serious, I'm trying to do something with this, trying to be consistent for y'all and for myself, and create a lane that could possibly provide more opportunities to my kids that I wasn't accustomed to when I was their age and older. So yeah, that's from the time I can remember to about 11. And the next guest list episode will be the next chapter. Before I get out of here though, I need to share this crazy story with y'all that is from the area that I'm from. First of all, this dude, the first time I seen him, it was in jail. And I didn't know what the hell he was in there for. I didn't really know him like that. But I didn't really interact with him, but from what I saw, he was, an upbeat, cool individual. However, I just seen this post on Facebook yesterday. And I seen his mugshot for violation of probation a few days prior. But this post said case update in capital letters, so it already caught my attention. Malcolm Nelson is now charged with aggravated manslaughter in the death of his son, who spent more than 3 years on life support due to physical abuse. Nelson was already in custody for violation of probation on his previous charges in this case. I knew the violation of probation, but I didn't know what his charges was. In January 2023, 3-month-old Noah Nelson was hospitalized with traumatic injuries. Doctors determined he had several injuries and fractures that resulted from physical abuse, including violent shaking. After an extensive investigation, Malcolm Nelson was arrested in October 2023 on a charge of aggravated child abuse. Okay, so that was the initial charge. I didn't even know that. Noah never showed signs of recovery and was on life support in the hospital until April of this year when he was released to hospice care at home. He died a few days later at the age of 3.5. So from 3 months old to 3.5 years old, this little boy was in a coma pretty much. Because this man violently shook him and all kind of stuff. The Volusia County Sheriff's Office Major Case Unit remained in contact with the Medical Examiner's Office and State Attorney, Florida 7th Circuit, over those years. As Sheriff Michael Shitwood announced previously, Volusia County Sheriff's Office planned to pursue upgraded charges if Noah's autopsy and medical records supported a finding of homicide. This week, the final medical examiner's report was submitted and indicated Noah's death was a homicide, with the cause of death being complications of abusive head trauma. Nelson, having pleaded no contest to his 2023 charge of aggravated child abuse, was previously sentenced to 180 days in jail, 2 years community control, and 13 years probation. That's probably when I seen him in jail, was when he was doing his 180 days. This week, he was taken into custody at his probation office Tuesday for a violation of probation. Today, detectives obtained a warrant on a new charge of aggravated manslaughter and served that warrant while Nelson remains in custody at the Volusia County Branch Jail. That is freaking crazy. I just want to say rest in peace to that young child. I just couldn't imagine I understand, the stresses of parenthood and stuff like that, but I don't see what can cause you to shake your child to the point to where it causes traumatic injury. Yeah, we might get frustrated sometimes and yell at our kids or whatever the case may be, but you have to be a different type of individual, have a different type of mentality to be able to cause that type of physical harm to somebody that you gave birth to or help create. I can't even imagine. With none of my children. Jesus Christ. Shouts out to the mother. I know that's something. I don't know how somebody would ever be able to recover from that, but definitely hoping and wishing for the best for her mental and stuff like that, and her ability to cope, heal, and move forward. Losing a child, especially that young, you ain't even really have no time with this baby for three months, and then from 3 months until 3.5, he was in a coma. So, dang, that's crazy work. Yeah, I just wanted to shed some light on that because it didn't sit right with my spirit when I seen it. Especially, like I say, because I seen this person in jail, and from his demeanor, you wouldn't even have thought he was in there for that kind of charge. He was really acting like everything was okay, and that might be how he, handles stuff, but oh no, bro. I definitely wouldn't have been that active and vocal if I was in there for one on aggravated child abuse, and then now that the baby is deceased, aggravated manslaughter of your own child. It's not going to be an easy road for that man, that boy. Jesus Christ. But I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. That was another episode of Likkle Table. I want to give thanks to y'all for tuning in. Another big shout out to the provider of our Beyond the Pleasure, the Laws Music / the Laws Cooper. with more music streaming on YouTube and other streaming services. If you're watching a video on YouTube and like what you saw, make sure you drop the like on it for me, please. Post your comments, they'll be addressed in later episodes. Share the video with your loved ones and subscribe to the YouTube channel for me, please. We rocking and rolling. Likkle TT Podcast on YouTube right now. Anything and everything has definitely been appreciated of and will be in the future, as it always is. And speaking of, replying to comments. So, responding to the comment left on the episode of my story, left by Marcus Edwards 95, it says, "This is by far my favorite episode, bro. You allowed yourself to be vulnerable, something you've always struggled with. Truly a testimony of your growth. I'm so proud of this version of you. It shows how you're becoming the man God intended for you to be. He's still molding and shaping you, bro. Glad I could have front row seats on your crazy adventure of a life, my boy." And mind you, this is Marcus Edwards is Coop. He's been on the episode a few times thus far. He is one of my best friends, if not my best friend. I appreciate love you as well, my boy. I've always been in your corner. You've always been in mine. Regardless of how long we haven't communicated, whenever we do talk, there ain't no love lost. Big shout out on your first child again, little Messiah, and good luck on the christening. But yeah, that was the comment from that. So leave y'all comments to be responded to under the videos, and they will be addressed just like I did that one on, episodes in the future. And for all of my other listeners on the other streaming services, an example, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, so on and so forth. The vibes. Drop your ratings and comments so I can know what y'all thought as well, because y'all opinions matter just as much. Y'all actually tune in a lot more than my YouTube viewers for right now. And I appreciate love y'all, most definitely. Y'all rocking with me, and I'm rolling and rocking with y'all. So, until next time, this is your host, your favorite neighborhood roster, and we up out of here with another episode of Likkle Table Podcast. Peace and blessings.